I'm with Mikey. He's like me, so I may have a tough time getting headsway, so bear with me. I'm going to do a talk basically about turning the startup on its head. He's calling for his grandfather. Yeah, he's down there. We're going for a walk. And basically, ultimately, what I aim to do is to really kill the startup. Now, don't get me wrong, when I say kill the startup, there's not going to be any blood or anything. What I mean is that we're going to replace the startup as the launch vehicle for ideas by using our collaborative framework called OIF. Okay? Here, Mike, let's go on my shoulder. Right? Shot. Okay? So, basically, that's better. So, basically, let me talk about basically what OIF is and how do we kill the startup. Number one, OIF found-ups are strategic initiatives that want to become institutional startups. A startup is an institutional vehicle, and everything about a startup is based on the institution. The idea that teams matter, right? And we need to get investors, right? These are all institution vehicles that basically came out of, you know, monarchy and the 1%. And there's irony here because, you know, the Mayan calendar, there's all this BS about the calendar, right? The world's coming to an end. I look at it actually very differently. I look at the Mayan calendar. If you can think of the Mayan calendar, it's the end of an age. And that age is basically the institution age as a controlling factor of our society. And there's a lot of folks who, you know, who talk about, who say it. Because the moment, like for found-ups, we don't need investors. We don't need that 1%, okay? Understand that. In the past, we needed their money in order to build our platforms. But we're creating a way for them to work for the man, those small, the 1%, and earn significant equity so that by moonlighting, because we don't have employees, we don't have contractors, we have moonlighters. There are people that are working for other companies, the Microsofts, the Googles, the Facebooks. They're top-notch developers who basically are slaving away in their coding, farms and really getting nothing from it. Whereas we're saying, listen, we're going to pay you 5 times your hourly rate, 5 times in funny money. All right, found up dollars. I like to call it funny money because it's not really. At this point. Funny money, the only thing you can do with funny money is actually use it to buy equity from FoundUps Corp as being a team member. So kind of like, when you join a startup, you get options and stuff like that. That's basically it. But what we do differently is instead of you just earning options into one startup, which, to be honest, has over a 97% chance of failure, so that's why most intelligent people don't do startups. What we have are 20 startups right now, or found-ups right now, that are going to be built into startups, and we are building the platform that's going to allow us to basically manage 1,000, 10,000, 100,000 found-ups, and create the ecosystem for us to allow us to, scale up, right? The biggest problem right now is that startups can't scale up. Using an institutional model, you're pretty much limited from scaling up. That's, so you're only going to have these small Y Combinators and, Techstars. And, I talked to Adeo of the Funded. He told me the biggest problem that he's having is trying to scale up the Funded. And I told Adeo, I have your answer, but he wouldn't listen. He wouldn't, entertain this crazy guy. Just like when, I think of myself, it's funny because I'm a Florida kid too, and Jimmy Wells is also a Florida kid. So us Florida kids, I don't know if he is Floridian, but I know he was living out of Florida when he did, was all these investors or the institutional types basically laughed, right, at our collaborative ideas. So You know, unlike Jimmy was actually is a visionary, right? Because he actually saw it, right? What I'm doing is actually saying, hey, if Jimmy can do it, if open source can do it, and if capital strategic campaigns can do it, why can't I bring these three widgets together and create a platform that will allow anyone to do it? So, you know, the bottom line you need to consider is what happens when you create an ecosystem where you don't need investors, where basically teams can form anywhere in the world to, you know, get behind a project, and that basically that project doesn't launch as a business until it's either financially successful, or, you know, because of its customers, or because it's got such traction that people are begging to put money in it. And we create the tools like a free crowdfunding solution and some other very cool things that we're developing, which I'm sorry are hush-hush unless you want to be part of our team and sign a very, very tight NDA that you know, that will allow us to basically, you know, I don't know what it does allow. I'm not an attorney, so I don't know what it allows us to do, but anyway. But the opportunity is to really make a difference, and ultimately I want, by next year, by the beginning of the Mayan calendar, I'm going to set this goal for found-ups. I want 10,000 found-ups. If I can bring about 10,000 found-ups that are socially conscious, ISO 26,000, right? 26,000 certified companies, right? 10,000 that actually are more than that are actually have better, because the ISO 2600, just type in ISO 26,000, sorry, lacks a lot of things. Number one, it lacks transparency. Number two, it doesn't provide the the vehicle for employees to basically be decision makers. Now, every found-up that we launch, understand we are social. Think of it as we are social corporations, right? Social corporations. Social corporations, yeah, are kind of, you know, oh, socialist. Yeah, maybe I'm a socialist, okay? Because, you know, to be honest, capitalism has failed, and it's, you know, it's on its last legs. Social companies are employee owned. They are employee directed and employee mandated. And ultimately, social corporations have what I call the social venture charter that basically states that the employee body, once every 5 years, will define the scope of what 20 to 80% of net profits are going to be contributed to, all right, to things that they care about, that are prominent to their society. It's completely open to the employees. Every 5 years, the CEO, the board, and all the leadership must gain, okay, a majority vote of confidence from its employees. Otherwise, they need to be replaced. And basically, whenever there's a new CEO or anything else, they must get a majority vote of confidence. So the whole idea here is we create companies where the majority of the equity, okay, I'm talking about 50,000, 100,000, 200,000 shares are owned by the founders, the developers, okay, of it. And that ultimately these individuals are going to continue working because they are employee owned. So it's in their best interest as they start to work on a found up to keep on working on a found up because they have ownership and equity in it. So instead of having basically billionaires owning a found up, what we're doing is giving the found up to you and to the team, right, to help launch. This is a radical idea. This hasn't been done, all right? Nothing of its kind. There is no collaborative framework for startups. We have the first one, and just as Wikipedia destroyed Encarta, which was a Microsoft institution, I believe that we can destroy the startup and replace it with the found up, and roll out companies that actually give a shit about things instead of about a few that happen to dominate it. My name is Michael Trout. Yes, I'm an idealist, I'm a visionary, I'm an upstart. I'm one of those guys that most companies are scared to have because they don't know what the fuck I'm going to do next. You know, and that's why I've never worked for such a company. I do my own thing. I do what I feel is right. I do what I feel is right for my kids. Mikey here is the most important thing in my life, along with Tommy and along with my wife. And what I care about is you. What I care about is your family and your community. And the bottom line is, unless we stand up, unless we unite, unless we come together and oppose the minority, which is trying to basically steal everything from you and your family, then, you know, we're going to be in trouble if we don't. So I'm inviting you. Join Found Ups on Facebook, all right? Just type in Found Ups. Join the corporation. You need to get an invite, though. So try to find someone who's a member. We're running Found Ups Corp invite only, because Found Ups Corp is going to be the place where you will get the first look-sees of different Found Ups that we're going on, and you'll be able to invest as a friend, family, right? But you can't get in unless you know someone who can invite you in that is already a friend of ours, because based on SEC and other requirements, we cannot do public offerings. This is not a public offering. I'm just saying this is a closed network of friends, family, and Mikey's trying to put his foot in my mouth. And you know, so I invite you to, you know, to, if you know me, if you're linked up with me, then that's good enough. If you're on my Facebook, that's good enough. Then I can get you in, right? But we are an open Google, looking to change everything you think you know about startups.